high in the misty hills of Meghalaya, where rain never seems to stop and waterfalls roar through endless valleys. A story unfolded that shocked an entire nation. A newly married couple, Raja and Sonam Raghuvanshi, had traveled from Indore to begin a new life together. They dreamed of exploring the world's wettest place, Cherrapunji, known locally as Sohra, a land of bridges made from living roots, caves carved by water, and valleys lost in fog. But instead of returning home with photographs and memories, only one of them came back. And not alive. What began as a honeymoon ended in betrayal, conspiracy, and death. This is the story of the Meghalaya honeymoon murder case. Raja Raghuvanshi was 29 years old. A businessman from Indore, Madhya Pradesh, he was described by his family as hardworking, ambitious, and deeply connected to his roots. Friends said he carried himself with quiet confidence, but had a soft spot for the people he loved. Sonam, 25, was his bride. From another respected family in Indore, she was educated, independent, and, according to relatives, gentle in nature. By all accounts, she and Raja looked like the perfect couple, well-matched, newly in love, and ready to start their journey together. Their wedding took place on May 11, 2025, celebrated in full traditional style. Friends and relatives gathered, laughter filled the air, and as the rituals concluded, the families blessed the union with prayers for a happy, long life. Just 9 days later, on May 20th, the couple packed their bags, boarded a flight, and left Indore. Their destination? Meghalaya, a state known for its unmatched natural beauty and a rising hotspot for adventure-seeking tourists. For many honeymooners, Meghalaya offers something unforgettable. The double-decker living root bridge in Nongriat, the caves of Mastermind, the three-tiered Wei Sawdong Falls, and endless treks through the world's greenest valleys. For Raja and Sonam, it seemed like the perfect choice. A once-in-a-lifetime honeymoon in the land of clouds. On May 22nd, Raja and Sonam reached Meghalaya, a small village near Cherrapunji. From here, they began one of Meghalaya's most famous journeys, the trek to Nongriat. The path is steep and demanding. Nearly 3,000 stone steps carved into the hills, winding down into dense jungle, across hanging bridges, and over gushing rivers. For locals it is routine, but for visitors it is grueling. By the time they arrived in Nongriat, they were exhausted. They checked into a modest homestay, Ship-era homestay, and spent the night. To outsiders, they appeared like any other couple, just tourists enjoying the adventure. But the next morning, May 23rd, they checked out and vanished. No one knew it then, but this day would mark the beginning of a nightmare. On the morning of May 23rd, 2025, Raja and Sonam Raghuvanshi left their homestay in Nongriat. Their destination was Meghalaya. The trek is punishing. Thousands of steep, slippery stairs, dense rainforest, and narrow hanging bridges suspended over gorges. For hours, the couple would have walked uphill, surrounded by nothing but thick greenery and the sound of rushing water. But somewhere along that route, their journey stopped. At exactly 1:43 p.m., Sonam placed a call to her mother back in Indore. What she said during that call has never been fully disclosed, but it would be the last time anyone ever heard her voice before she vanished. Minutes after that, both Raja's and Sonam's phones were switched off permanently. From that moment on, there was silence. Back in Indore, Raja and Sonam's families grew anxious. Calls went unanswered. Messages were never read. Hours passed. Then the night. Still nothing. By the end of May 23rd, panic had set in. Relatives filed a missing persons report. It was as if the newlyweds had been swallowed by the mountains of Meghalaya. The next day, May 24th, a breakthrough. The couple's rented scooter was found, abandoned outside a roadside cafe on the Shillong-Sohra road. The keys were still latched in the ignition, but Raja and Sonam were gone. Where had they gone after leaving Nongriat? Why leave the scooter behind? The mystery deepened. Police and family members launched an immediate search. Villagers joined in, combing dense bamboo groves, slippery trails, and roaring streams. The National Disaster Response Force was also called in. Drones flew above the gorges, scanning the depths of the forest. Teams shouted their names into the misty valleys. But for days, there was no sign of the couple. As the hours turned into days, speculation spread. Some whispered that the couple had fallen victim to an accident, that the treacherous steps or slippery cliffs of Nongriat had claimed them. Others feared an abduction, perhaps by criminal groups or opportunistic thieves in the remote hills. For Raja's family, suspicion turned darker. They believed foul play was involved. They demanded answers, and soon the police investigation intensified. No one knew yet that the truth would be far more sinister than anyone could imagine. The search stretched into late May. Day after day, the mountains gave nothing back. The families prayed. The police pushed on. Villagers whispered that the spirits of Sohra had swallowed the newlyweds. But on June 2nd, 2025, the silence finally broke. And with it, the illusion of hope. A National Disaster Response Force drone, scanning the Wei Sawdong Falls, made a chilling discovery. At the base of a deep gorge, partially submerged and tangled among rocks, lay a human body. It was badly decomposed, battered by days of water and humidity. But a single mark would confirm the truth. Raja Raghuvanshi was identified by a tattoo on his right hand. The honeymooner from Indore was dead. The East Khasi Hills District Police confirmed the grim news. Raja's body had been recovered. Immediately, a murder case was registered. This was no accident, no misstep on slippery cliffs. This was something far darker. A special investigation team was formed, tasked with unraveling how and why Raja Raghuvanshi's life ended in the depths of Meghalaya's wilderness. But even as Raja's body was recovered, one question grew louder. Where was Sonam Raghuvanshi? Had she too fallen victim to the same fate? Was she abducted? Or was she hiding something? For now, Sonam remained missing. The search for answers only grew more urgent. Investigators soon uncovered disturbing clues near the gorge where Raja's body lay. A woman's white shirt, a blister pack of medicine, fragments of a mobile phone screen, a smartwatch, and then a potential murder weapon. A blood-stained blade, hidden among rocks and mud. Nearby, in Makma village, police also found a black raincoat with wet stains. Were they blood? Forensic teams would decide. These fragments painted a chilling picture. Raja had not died in an accident. Someone had been with him. Someone had tried to cover their tracks. The recovery itself was grueling. Teams used ropes and rappelling gear to descend into the gorge. The terrain was treacherous. Slippery rocks, poor visibility, and constant rainfall. Again and again, the descent was halted for safety. But the searchers refused to give up. Finally, Raja's body was brought out of the gorge. His death had become the centerpiece of a mystery that now gripped not just Meghalaya, but the entire nation. Back in Indore, Raja's family was devastated. His brother, Vipin Raghuvanshi, demanded the case be handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation. He questioned the missing jewelry, Raja's rings, chain, bracelet, all gone when the body was recovered. Was this theft and murder, or something more personal? Meanwhile, Sonam's family begged authorities not to give up hope. Her brother, Govind, insisted that she was still alive, perhaps in captivity. Two families, two narratives, both searching for answers. Even Meghalaya's chief minister, Conrad Sangama, weighed in. He expressed shock at the crime and assured the public that the government was fully supporting the police investigation. The case was no longer just a family tragedy. It had become a matter of state concern. Then, on June 6th, a breakthrough witness came forward. A local guide claimed he had seen Raja and Sonam on May 23rd, the day they disappeared, not alone, but with 3 unidentified men. According to him, the group was spotted near the Wei Sawdong viewpoint. The guide's account changed everything. This was no accident, no chance disappearance. The couple had been in the company of strangers, and those strangers might have been killers. By now, whispers had turned into certainty. Raja had been murdered, but who had done it? And where was Sonam? With Raja's body recovered, the focus of the Meghalaya police shifted from search to truth. And the deeper they looked, the stranger the story became. From the gorge and nearby villages, evidence poured in. A blood-stained weapon, a black raincoat with suspicious stains, personal items scattered across the scene, a smartwatch, phone fragments, medicine packets. Each item hinted at a violent struggle. Each clue whispered of a plan. But who had carried it out? Forensic teams ran tests, while investigators scoured CCTV footage and mobile tower data. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Phone records revealed something crucial. On May 23rd, at 1:43 p.m., Sonam made a call to her mother. Minutes later, both Raja's and Sonam's phones went dark. Switched off. Silenced. Forever. To investigators, this was no coincidence. It was the mark of a crime executed with chilling precision. The couple's rented scooter was discovered abandoned the very next day at a roadside cafe along the Shillong Sohra road. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. But the scooter wasn't just abandoned. It had been deliberately left. A signal that someone wanted the trail to go cold. The missing wife becomes a suspect. At first, Sonam was believed to be a victim too. A missing bride, perhaps held captive, perhaps dead. But then, the evidence began to shift the narrative. Investigators noticed inconsistencies in witness accounts. A guide had seen the couple with 3 men on May 23rd. Who were they, and why was Sonam with them? CCTV footage and phone data placed her movements in suspicious alignment with these unknown figures. The possibility emerged, unthinkable at first, that Sonam wasn't missing at all. She might be hiding, or worse, orchestrating. Through interrogations and digital forensics, police unearthed a shocking revelation. One of the men linked to the case was Raj Singh Kushwaha, not just a suspect, but allegedly Sonam's lover. Raj worked at her brother's firm back in Madhya Pradesh. Investigators believe Sonam and Raj had been in a secret relationship, one strong enough to plan something unthinkable. According to the police, Sonam allegedly hired contract killers during her honeymoon. She had traveled to Meghalaya with her new husband, but authorities now claim her real purpose was to carry out his murder. 3 killers, including Raj Singh Kushwaha, were allegedly involved in the plot. The trip wasn't just a honeymoon. It was a cover for conspiracy and death. If true, Sonam had walked her husband into a trap. By early June, suspicion had transformed into a manhunt. Sonam had vanished from Meghalaya after Raj's death, but police were tracking her trail across states. Finally, on June 9, 2025, after more than 2 weeks of pursuit, they found her. Not in hiding in the forests of Meghalaya, but in Ghazipur, Uttar Pradesh. She was arrested and immediately transported back to Meghalaya for custodial interrogation. The missing bride was no longer missing. She was now the prime accused. As investigations widened, the net grew tighter. 4 people were arrested in connection with Raj's murder. A 5th suspect remained at large. The case had moved beyond disappearance, beyond mystery. It was now a story of betrayal, conspiracy, and contract killing. Back in Indore, reactions were explosive. Raja's mother demanded capital punishment for those responsible. But Sonam's father rejected the police narrative outright. He claimed his daughter was innocent, a scapegoat, and called for a CBI investigation. 2 families stood divided. One grieving for a murdered son, demanding justice. The other fighting for a daughter, insisting she was being framed. The case exploded across national headlines. Every channel debated the same haunting question. Was Sonam Raghuvanshi a grieving widow or a calculating killer? As the investigation pressed on, the nation waited for answers. But one truth was already clear. This was no ordinary crime. It was betrayal hidden behind the mask of love. A honeymoon, that became a death sentence. By mid-June 2025, the Meghalaya honeymoon murder case had already gripped the nation. But the aftermath was far from over. This wasn't just a crime. It had become a debate about trust, betrayal, policing, and justice itself. Television channels across India ran the story 24/7. Headlines screamed, "Wife or killer?" Social media erupted with outrage, theories, and conspiracies. To many, Sonam was the symbol of a betrayal too dark to comprehend. To others, she was a young woman scapegoated by police eager to close a case. The nation was divided. In Indore, candlelight marches were held for Raja. In Ghazipur, rallies were organized defending Sonam's innocence. The Honeymoon murder had now become a battlefield of opinions. Raja's family, shattered by loss, demanded nothing less than the harshest punishment. His mother broke down before cameras, crying out for capital punishment. His brother Vipin raised suspicions of robbery, pointing to Raja's missing jewelry, rings, a chain, a bracelet, all gone. Meanwhile, Sonam's relatives were defiant. Her brother Govind insisted she was innocent, that she was perhaps still a victim, trapped in a larger conspiracy. Her father rejected every police claim, calling the case a fabrication, and demanded a CBI probe. Two households, two realities, both convinced of their truth, both unwilling to bend. Even the political establishment couldn't ignore the storm. Meghalaya's chief minister, Conrad Sangama, expressed deep shock. He assured the public that the government was fully supporting the police inquiry. But promises were not enough for many. Public trust wavered. Calls for an independent investigation grew louder, and whispers began. Was this just another case destined to fade into bureaucracy? The special investigation team pressed on. Witnesses like the local guide, who claimed to have seen Sonam and Raja with 3 unidentified men on May 23rd, became crucial. CCTV footage was dissected frame by frame. Call records were traced across states. Piece by piece, the alleged conspiracy began to take form. Yet for every clue, more questions emerged. Why choose Meghalaya, a remote, rain-soaked land, for such a plan? Why risk a murder during a honeymoon when suspicion would immediately fall on the spouse? And if robbery was involved, were outsiders exploiting a marital rift for their own gain? Police had arrested all 5 suspects. As detectives tightened the net on the ground, the battle shifted to the courtroom. On June 26th, 3 men from Madhya Pradesh were remanded to police custody for 6 days, not as killers but as alleged enablers. Their names: Salam James, a property dealer, Lokendra Tomar, a flat owner, and Bala Aherwar, a building guard. Police alleged they concealed evidence in an Indore flat tied to the aftermath of the crime, a place where Sonam and her alleged lover, Raj Singh Kushwaha, stayed after Raja's murder. Investigators said jewelry and other items taken after the killing were moved into that flat, turning a city apartment into what prosecutors would call a cache of secrets. According to the Special Investigation Team, SIT, property dealer Salam James had leased the Indore flat to Vishal, identified as Vishal Singh Chauhan, one of the 3 arrested hitmen. It was in this very flat that Sonam and Raj allegedly stayed after the crime, while items connected to the killing were brought and kept. The prosecution's story was crystallizing. A honeymoon in Meghalaya, a murder in Sohra, and a cover-up in Indore. On Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025, the case advanced another step. A Meghalaya court remanded the trio to judicial custody on charges linked to obstruction of justice and evidence tampering at the Indore flat. Assistant Public Prosecutor Tushar Chanda told reporters that Salam James was sent to 14 days of judicial custody. Lokendra Tomar and Bala Aherwar were sent to 7 days. What began on the rain-slicked steps of Nangrayat had now crossed state lines, pulling Madhya Pradesh firmly into Meghalaya's courtroom drama. By this point, the principal accused were already behind bars. Sonam Raghuvanshi, arrested on June 9th for alleged conspiracy to murder. Raj Singh Kushwaha, alleged lover and co-conspirator. 3 alleged hitmen from Madhya Pradesh: Vishal Singh Chauhan, Akash Rajput, and Anand Kormi. The courtroom chapter had begun in earnest. In a subsequent hearing in the East Khasi Hills jurisdiction, the court extended the judicial custody of the 3 alleged hitmen, Akash Rajput, Vishal Singh Chauhan, and Anand Kormi, by 14 days. They appeared via video conferencing from the Shillong district jail. Meanwhile, Sonam and Raj Kushwaha remained in judicial custody. As the SIT continued to knit together CCTV timelines, mobile records, and witness accounts, these decisions didn't decide guilt, but they bought investigators time to run forensics on stains from a black raincoat, to analyze a blood-stained weapon, and to cross-verify the guide's testimony that placed Raja and Sonam with 3 men near Wei Sawdong on May 23. In legal terms, judicial custody signaled that the court found enough preliminary grounds to keep the suspects behind bars while the state built its case. The Indore flat became the bridge that prosecutors argued connected the murder site in Sohra to a planned concealment hundreds of kilometers away. If proven, it would mean not just a killing, but a conspiracy and a cover-up. Inside the courtroom filings and outside in the streets, 2 versions competed for air. The state's narrative, a premeditated murder-for-love plot, 3 hired killers, and a trail of evidence that traveled from Meghalaya's gorges to Indore's corridors. The defense's stance that Sonam was being framed, that the Indore flat story was overstretched, and that the state was cherry-picking clues to fit a foregone conclusion. The judge ordered continued custody. The investigation pressed on. The Meghalaya honeymoon murder mystery is more than just a tragic crime story. It is a chilling reminder of how betrayal, secrecy, and human greed can destroy lives in the most unthinkable ways. Raja Raghuvanshi's family continues to fight for justice, while Sonam and the other accused await their fate in the courts of law. As the investigation unfolds, one question still lingers. Will the truth ever be fully known, and will justice truly be served? Until then, this haunting case remains etched in the minds of millions across India. A story of love that ended in the shadows of Meghalaya's misty waterfalls.